And hello again from WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor for the Western Journal. It's good to be with you guys again. I've been out for a couple weeks with the dreaded Wuhan flu, the Kung flu, COVID-19. It was not pleasant, but I am fine and back in the land of the living. Missed getting to visit with you guys a couple times a week. Joining us today, we have Tara Snyder, an assignment editor with us, and then we have Bridget the intern.
Hello.
This is her first, I think this is your first time on WJ Live?
Yep, first time on WJ Live.
First time on WJ Live. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being here. Lots of stuff going on today. We have had sort of wall-to-wall coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, jury deliberations, arguments, and the forthcoming at some point verdict. We've got a couple things we want to talk with you about as far as that goes. First off, we have a couple clips that if you didn't see them, and you probably didn't see them if you're watching the establishment media. However, if you were watching Fox or you were watching independent media, you may have seen them. A couple clips from the prosecutors in the case that are absolutely outlandish, where truly the prosecutors appear to be defending a pedophile against a 17-year-old underage kid the pedophile was trying to attack. We're going to look at a couple of those clips, and we'll have analysis of that. Also, not related to Rittenhouse, but related to this time of year, Thanksgiving is coming up, and already, thanks to Joe Biden's mismanagement, the left's mismanagement of the economy, COVID shutdowns, and all of those wonderful things, we're looking at Thanksgiving shortages. We'll have information for you on what stuff you need to stock up on now so that you have it when the day rolls around. I did my Thanksgiving shopping, actually, last night. But first off, Tara is going to kick it off with more Rittenhouse coverage, and we're going to be talking about a possible mistrial situation. Take it away, Tara.
Yes. So if you guys have been paying attention at all to the Rittenhouse trial, you would know that it has been the absolute nightmare that I've been repeating ever since it began. So there's been a couple key issues since the trial started, even when Kyle was on the stand himself. The first major issue that everyone was talking about was the fact that Binger, who is the prosecuting attorney in the case, went after Kyle Rittenhouse and his right to remain silent in front of the jury while he was on the stand. And so that brought up the first kind of shakeup when it came to mistrials and that this was a prosecutorial misconduct. And if you remember, the judge said that he had never seen anything so reckless in his 40 to 50 years of being a sitting judge or working in the courtroom, which was just shocking. But the real issue today that's come out is that the mistrial that they're filing isn't even about that yet. It hasn't even been filed because something even worse has happened, and that is that the prosecution in this case withheld critical video evidence from the defense, and this video evidence was crystal clear video footage that the prosecution had, and they allegedly gave the defense this blurry, kind of distorted video evidence. So again, they entered trial with not having the same evidence, with which if you have two brain cells, you would know that you need the same evidence to have a fair trial. So the first one that was filed was a mistrial with prejudice on Monday. And if that one goes through, that means that Kyle Rittenhouse can no longer be held to another trial if that one is approved. And today, another one was filed regarding the same issue with video evidence, and that is just a mistrial in general. Now, the judge in this case can't rule on either of those filings unless the jury comes to a conclusion or a verdict of something to that extent. And lucky for you guys, we actually have the footage if we can bring that up. So here you see the footage that the defense had, which is super, super blurry. Something out of a cartoon, perhaps. It's just atrocious. You're looking at shadows. Oh, and here's the prosecution's footage, right?
Oh, that's so much clearer.
Yeah, it's almost like we all put on glasses and can suddenly make out that those are human beings and not just blobs running around like some CGI animation. So it's absolutely ridiculous and just flat out crazy. So I guess I just want to ask you guys, once the jury makes a decision, just based on the ridiculous footage that we just witnessed, do you think that the judge will have grounds to grant a mistrial on that? And if he rules against that, do you think that they're going to refile in the case of your constitutional rights with the right to remain silent?
Yeah, those are good questions. To answer the first one, I think we actually have an inkling of that already. If you go over to westernjournal.com, the story that is blowing up biggest for us right now, it's actually the biggest story we've had in a while, is about the judge himself saying his nightmare has come true. And what he's talking about there is that the jury is wanting to see the footage over again. They're wanting to see more of the footage. That I think does not bode well. If the prosecution had better images that they could have shown, they sat on those, they held them back, then I think that's unbelievably damaging to the prosecution's case. After all, if you have better information, why wouldn't you use it? Unless you think it's going to be bad for your side.
Yeah, that's what I was just like, I couldn't wrap my head around is it's just a better video. And so I didn't get why the prosecution didn't use it unless there was something to hide from it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Normally you want more information, you want clearer information, unless there's something that information exposes that you don't like. The prosecution clearly out to get Kyle Rittenhouse here. Definitionally, that's what they're supposed to do. So it is a strange thing that they provided such blurry video. A fascinating thing, we're still doing the research on this right now, so this isn't gospel yet, but something I heard being discussed in the newsroom before I came out here was that they found Handbrake video editing software on one of the prosecutor's computers. That's very interesting. I don't know how much video editing normal prosecutors do. And I would imagine if they do it with something other than the free to download Handbrake, which is what I use if I need to cut some video up. I would think that a prosecutor's office would have access to Avid and all sorts of the really high tech stuff.
And it just doesn't even make sense. Like I even was watching the trial a little bit today, and the judge was making comments, and he's like, "Wait, wouldn't your experts testify about this? Like, wouldn't your experts bring this up?" And so I think that it just shows how ridiculously corrupted this entire case has been, start to finish. Because we're not just talking about the evidence here; we're also talking about when Rittenhouse himself was sitting on the stand. Like these are like basic 101 like things that you just shouldn't be doing. Like it's like I've watched enough like Law and Order and like these law shows to be like, here's the basics of law school, you know? It's like maybe if you paid attention to those or had like any common sense whatsoever, you would know better than Binger, which I guess apparently isn't that hard.
Well, we're going to look at some video of that a little bit later of some of the things that the prosecutors have said, but it looks like such a Bush League prosecution. You've got these guys up there who, I mean, they really don't seem to know what they're arguing. My favorite moment, I really should have had them clip it for the show. My favorite moment, Tucker Carlson caught it. One of the prosecutors was trying to describe how far away one of the protesters was from Rittenhouse when Rittenhouse shot him.
Oh, yeah.
And the prosecutor accidentally, the way he spoke of it, he was talking about how close the guy was, how essentially how dangerous that would have been. And he caught himself and he had to reverse it. But it's very Bush League. You've got a guy sweeping the room with an AR-15 with his finger on the trigger. I mean, this is stupid, again, Bush League stuff that you don't do. You've got one of the prosecutors he was literally talking about how what these guys did just wasn't that bad. Oh, they flipped over a trailer. Oh, they set a trailer on fire. Oh, they didn't want the police to come in and put down a riot. They were talking about it like this is normal stuff that like a 5-year-old does when he's pitching a fit. So it's Bush League. It's Bush League.
And just to kind of like shift gears, I kind of have a question for you, Bridget, and Josh, you can add in your 2 cents too. But I think it's really, really interesting that the jury has been deliberating not only yesterday, but today as well. And now they're fiddling with evidence. So what do you think? Do you think that that's a bad sign for Kyle Rittenhouse, or do you think it's a good sign for him?
Honestly, that's a great question, Tara. I think it's good for Kyle Rittenhouse. I think the jury is doing the best they can because it's such I wouldn't even say it's a normal trial. It's a social trial. It's like it involves everyone in the United States. So I think the jury, whether they say it or not, I think they're taking into account that people might start protesting or rioting if the jury sways one way or the other. So I think they're trying to just lay all their ducks in a row and go through more footage if that means that everyone will be at peace at the end of this trial. That's what I get from the jury taking longer than we might think is expected when making a ruling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's almost a signal to the public.
Yeah,
like-
hey, we really
like
did do
we
our
really
due
did do our
diligence.
job.
Like,
No, that's a
we're
really
okay.
interesting point.
And
Yeah.
so, that's what I think. Yeah.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, they're actually just kicked back
They're
at the
just-
table with Chinese food,
They're like,
just
okay, we
waiting.
know.
Okay, it's been long enough now. We all know the kid's innocent.
Yeah.
Oh man, Josh, what do you think? Just
I don't know. I mean, I'm cynical about this kind of stuff. That they didn't walk out one door and file right back in the other, to me, is remarkable. They should have been back instantly and given an innocent verdict. But I'm also not the kind of person they put on juries.
It's interesting too, because I was kind of surprised by this, and I actually saved it on my phone, but I was on TikTok yesterday and there was just like some random TikTok about like whatever, and it had like 303,000 likes. And the top comment was, OMG, we all know he's like not guilty. And it had like 26,000 likes. And I was searching for someone to be like, go, like Kyle Rittenhouse needs to be put in prison. So it's like, I think
the only body saying
I
it's the
think-
prosecution and
Yeah.
BLM.
And like, it's just crazy. So I think it's
MSNBC.
pretty telling too, because that TikTok wasn't politically orientated one way or the other, but all of the comments were like free Rittenhouse, which was just, I was really surprised.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, and I do think juries probably get it right more times than they don't. But then, you watch O.J. Simpson and you think, well, that travesty happened. So sometimes justice doesn't get served the way it should. We will see. Regardless of any of that, I think Rittenhouse is going to have so many lawsuits he can file at the end of this that even if he does suffer a little bit of punishment, he's going to be compensated very nicely. That's good. So we will see about a mistrial. We think there are probably grounds to see something like that happen before all said and done, potentially. But I want to talk with you specifically about one of the people that Rittenhouse dealt with, one of the people who he shot. And it's really interesting. You hear the prosecution talk about this. It is like you're watching kind of Bizarro World, where everything's reversed, where good's bad, up's down, left's right. If you listen to the prosecutors talk, they've found themselves in the unenviable position of defending a convicted pedophile who was chasing a 17-year-old child and trying to track him down and do physical harm to him.
It's so bad.
And so we've all thought, oh, well, maybe the physical harm was just going to be beating him. And as we'll see, that's what one of the prosecutors think. If I were Rittenhouse and I knew this guy's record, I would not be afraid of being beaten so much as I would being pedophiled, being molested. But we know what this guy is. We know what Rittenhouse is. Rittenhouse is a 17-year-old. His dad lived in the city. Rittenhouse went there wanting to try to help protect businesses and provide medical attention if he could, if it was needed. And we also know this guy's background, but if you're watching the establishment media, you may not know his background. We've got it though. Run that first clip, please, from Tucker.
Joseph Rosenbaum was charged by a grand jury with 11 counts of child molestation, including forcible sodomy. This wasn't, he was 19 and he had a 17-year-old girlfriend. No. He raped children. The victims were 5 boys between the ages of 9 and 11. Ultimately, Rosenbaum was sentenced to 10 years in prison for this. When he got out of prison, Rosenbaum destroyed his ankle monitor, the one he was required to wear. The day he died, Rosenbaum had an open case for domestic abuse. They're defending this guy. Just hours before he threatened to kill Kyle Rittenhouse, Rosenbaum had been released from a mental hospital. He's being treated for some sort of disorder, obviously. He tried to go back to his fiancée, but she had a no-contact order after she pressed charges against him a month earlier for hitting her.
Position to be in as a prosecutor. You're supposed to protect the people from criminal elements. You've got a 17-year-old who may have broken one law, maybe. And you've got a convicted child rapist.
Yeah.
The kids were 9 to 11. What was it? 5 kids?
Five
nine
confirmed.
to 11 years of age.
Jeez.
He illegally possesses a gun. He is chasing a minor. The minor doesn't shoot him down in cold blood. The minor doesn't shoot him from 100 yards away. They get close. The minor is defending himself. It's either go to fisticuffs with this guy who is 30-something. And let me tell you, a 30-something-year-old guy versus a 17-year-old guy, even if there's a power differential, I'm going to go with the older guy every time. I would be scared for my life, legitimately scared. And even if Rittenhouse didn't know the guy's background, which he didn't at the time, he didn't know the guy's full background. He may have seen the guy setting fires and that sort of thing. But he'd still do well to essentially run for his life. And when that guy comes after you, armed, he is a threat to you. But what a weird position. If you're the prosecutor, you're having to defend the pedophile.
I was actually talking to my mom about this the other day on the phone. I was like, for a prosecution, one, to be in this trial alone in the position he is defending a side that doesn't really have a case, and then to find out who he is defending did what he did. It's like, what do you do with that? In his position, I mean, it's his job, but like, what do you do? Like, I wouldn't know. I'd be like stunned.
I'll tell you what you do. If you are these prosecutors, you essentially say, I just want to know what order I want to do these in. Go with the order I sent you, Russ. I'm gonna go in the order I sent you, Russ. I'm not going to change it on you on the fly. But we're going to see what they have to say about that, how the prosecutors deal with it. But next up, again, Tucker had a great observation that essentially the narrative has changed. And they changed the narrative on the fly really fast, so it's easy to catch it this time. Remember, this was originally racist. This was a white kid killing a black guy at a BLM event. It was all race fueled. Then it turns out all of these people are white. So now he's a white anti-black racist killing white people.
They're anti-white. They're anti-whatever racist, but then they're also screaming the N-word over and over and over again.
Very,
it's so weird. It's
like
weird.
clearly reaching. But anyway, when that fell apart, the narrative changed. Let's pick it up with Tucker.
Notice the change here, though. This case has gone from white supremacist hunts down and executes BLM protesters, right, like it was a racial case, everyone's white, to the new theme, which is that teenager should have accepted his beating from the child molester arsonist who was chasing him and threatening to kill him. And because he didn't, he needs to go to jail. Once again, very clear message. Submit.
Submit.
So
That's it. Submit. That is the new tack. And that's how they want you to deal with this. Your question was, how does the prosecution deal with this? The answer is submit. Now, it gets even more specific than that. And then I want to come to you, Tara. Run the next clip, Russ.
Everybody takes a beating sometimes, right? Sometimes you get in a scuffle and maybe you do get hurt a little bit. That doesn't mean you get to start plugging people with your Full Metal Jacket AR-15 rounds. And no, bullets are not bullets.
Well, okay, so the FMJ reference is idiotic. He clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. If you're going to get shot, you'd rather get shot with that. But anyway, yes, take your beating. Take your beating, fellas. Sometimes you have to take a beating. There's more to that later on where Tucker essentially asks the guy, have you ever taken a beating, and then calls him Tubby, which was, well, you can make of that what you want to. But that's it. That's how you handle it. So, Tara, a known pedophile is chasing you. He is armed. Tara, it sounds to me like the prosecution in the Rittenhouse case is saying, Tara, you just got to take the beating, or potentially the molestation. I mean, essentially, this is, you got to take sometimes you got to be molested for the team. You know?
Just take one for the team, right?
That's it. Take one for the team.
Oh, man.
Remember, the narrative was wrong on this, but they've got to stick to it. They said Rittenhouse had done all these horrible things. Now they have to stick to it. And it has gotten to the point where it's, if you got to be, sometimes you just got to be molested.
Sometimes, yeah. It's the mental gymnastics is in competition with Simone Biles' top spot at this point.
Yeah,
It's absolutely crazy because if someone's chasing me, First of all, let's just assume like what Kyle Rittenhouse knew is that this guy's not a convicted pedophile. That's just the icing on the cake for later. But if a grown man is like running at me, like trying to take my gun, like I'm sorry, it's probably not going to end well hoping I can shoot straight. Like I just think it's absolutely crazy that the defense at this point is telling Kyle Rittenhouse and the jury, it's like, you know what? Sometimes you just got to get beat up. With the same guy who was like, oh, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut your heart out. All of this stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's so stupid. I can't even, there's nothing even more to say. It's just blatantly stupid.
The prosecutor goes on and says that essentially what Rittenhouse did was cowardly. He should have taken the beating, and shooting the guy was cowardly. So I wish we had the camera on Bridget at that moment. It was spectacular. I have no idea if you could clip that and then show it again in a second. If you can, it'll be funny. But
that's just wild to think.
Yeah. So what you've got, yes, that's it. So that sort of brings us full circle. What you have is a prosecution that is protecting the pedophile, is protecting the guy who is trying to obstruct the police from coming in and stopping a riot at all costs, and attacking the minor who defended himself, who could have, if he had ended up in a dark alley with this guy, who could have ended up being child number 6 that we know of.
Yeah, the one that we know of. Oh.
Yeah, so there's no, I mean, imagine going, I mean, you can't take a shower long enough to get that kind of smut and stink off of you if you're a prosecutor. They're supposed to be defending us from people like that, and they're trying to put one of us in jail.
It's really, Tara said it best. It's stupid and it's mind blowing. Like I really can't wrap my head around them defending a person like this just because it's their job, that's their side, but they're like, what's your limit when you find all this information, you know?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Well, it's just funny because it's like we're all sitting here going, how can we just be okay that this guy's a pedophile? But it's the same left who is like, you know what? Maybe it's okay to be attracted to minors. You know, that might just be a valid sexuality.
Yeah.
You're just a map, like a minor attracted person. Like, are you kidding me?
That's it. He's just a map. He's just a minor attracted person.
Yeah, he's
just
the
facts.
A minor attracted felon who sets things on fire and riots.
Yeah, he's just a little bit violent.
Where's the sympathy for him?
Yeah,
where is the sympathy for the rioting pedophiles?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and he just beat his like wife or whatever, his girlfriend. Like,
got a
but how
restraining
dare
order
you?
against him.
How dare you? Yeah, it's like we have no reason to believe this guy was threatening. Oh my gosh, like it just is so stupid.
Yeah, we were watching crud. We got to move on. I was watching a movie that's going to be released. We're actually Western Journal's helping release it. It's called Capital Punishment, and it's a film by Nick Searcy, who you may know from Hollywood. It's a very conservative actor, very outspoken. But I was watching a Q&A with the people who showed up in the film, and the people the film followed were people who were at January 6th and had been imprisoned afterwards or had their homes raided and this and that and the other. And when you watch these people on stage talking, these people are saying, look, the country is in a lot of turmoil, but we need to speak out. You don't go to guns. If you go to guns, you lose. This needs to be a peaceful conversation that's happening. Now, the feds, the establishment, the deep state calls those people domestic terrorists. But then you look over here and you've got a pedophile chasing a kid down after setting stuff on fire in the middle of a riot. And this guy, the prosecutors who are supposed to protect us, they're defending this guy. I mean, it is so backward right now. You said that the prosecutors were sort of charged with doing this. It is their job to do it. Somebody above them decided, all right, we're going to make an example out of this kid. And I think what happened was essentially they jumped to a lot of conclusions about Rittenhouse originally. They didn't wait. They stupidly didn't wait. Then they got stuck committing to the kid's got to burn.
Yeah, the narrative.
Right. The narrative. Okay. That's Rittenhouse for us today. Now, turning from Rittenhouse and pedophiles and, my favorite kind of pedophile, shock pedophiles, turning from those, let's talk just a little bit about Thanksgiving. Unless you've been living under a rock or on your own off the grid, you're going to know that it has been really hard to get all kinds of products lately. And don't expect that to let up anytime soon. And in fact, it looks like it's going to impact Thanksgiving plans too. Thank you, Joe. Brigitte, you've got the report on this. Tell us about it. Tell us what's up.
Yes. So Thanksgiving, a week away, and essentials of Thanksgiving, like food, turkey, cranberry sauce, stuffing, all of that is out of stock, or it's very limited right now. And although this is Thanksgiving is an important holiday, and it's a time for everyone to like unite and be with family and just appreciate what you have and where you are. And so, yes, Thanksgiving is a week away, and most Americans are preparing right now. But this, I'm sorry, I'm getting so jumbled right now.
Other than the 4th, it is probably the most quintessentially American holiday.
Yeah.
It harkens back originally to the Pilgrims. It harkens back to the first European settlers here, which I think is one reason they hate Thanksgiving, because that's part of that is the birth of America.
But I was looking at this article from CNN, and I'm just going to read off some statistics that they gave off comparing this year's supply to turkey and other Thanksgiving foods compared to last year's. So they note that this is from the IRI, and the IRI is a market research firm that tracks all U.S. retail sales. And so they note that a whole turkey is down 22%, pies are down 10%, liquid gravy is down 12%, and cranberry sauce is down 10%. So we are just coming into a time where it's uncertain. And I can only get this information and relate it back to our supply chain and the Biden administration and what this year has led us to. Now going into the holiday season. I mean, this is just Thanksgiving foods, right? Mm-hmm. But we're now going into Christmas and the New Year, where people are going to be ordering, and who knows what else will be like backed up or just not available for us. And so, I mean, Americans, the most we can do right now is just turn to alternatives and what we can make with what we have.
Mm-hmm. So this is what you get when you arbitrarily shut down massive portions of the economy, and then you pump enormous supply, you pump a bunch of liquidity into the market. You write a whole bunch of checks to Americans with money that we don't have. You have people quit. You have people not go back to work. And you end up with massive shortages like this. And what doesn't help is union presence and those sorts of things. And of course, we're dealing with an administration that's friendly to unions. Mm-hmm. We're dealing with, a lot of the dock issues are in California are super union friendly. So yeah, this is what you get. Remember, folks, when you go to the gas station and you pay $5 a gallon, when you see a kid who defended himself from a pedophile on trial for it, when you're not able to get a turkey at Thanksgiving, you can thank Democrats for that. And remember, more than that, that is the world they want you to live in. That is their ideal world. Their ideal world actually isn't even $5 a gallon. It's $10 a gallon. It's $15 a gallon, because they want the internal combustion engine gone.
Yeah.
They want you paying $15 a gallon. Put it down big, plain, and straight. They want you paying $15 a gallon. They don't want, look at all the discussions about getting rid of beef, getting rid of poultry. They want those things gone. That is not the America they envision. And with the social justice impetus, what you're seeing as far as defending the pedophile against the kid, that's also what they want. Those are the legal outcomes they want. What you're watching right now is the light version of what Democrats actually want America to be, of what the left wants America to be. What she just described, what Bridget just described, that is what the left wants America to be, and it's only the first step.
And one last note that I want to point out during all of this is, during my internship, I've been hopping departments, and right now I'm with the story and editing team with Deborah, who's our supervising editor story at the Western Journal. And we just before the show, I was editing a story with her about how all this is happening. What you just mentioned, all that is very current and real right now. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has spent $1.96 million just on his security detail alone, traveling to and from his home in Delaware. And so I just think that's a little icing on the cake, cherry on top of all of this that's going around right now.
Oh yeah, it's just such a disaster too. Like, And the thing I think about is that all of these people who are on the coasts who kind of ultimately like make the decisions and whatever, it's all of the people in the middle of the country who are growing the food, who are like bringing in like American exports and all of this stuff. And all of those people are just going to be punished once again for the Biden and admin's failings. And thank God today OSHA smacked down some of the vaccine requirements, because I'm like, this was just going to go downhill so much more fast. Like if truckers were going to be forced to get the vaccine, it would have gotten so much worse. Like I know I was even already starting my stockpile. Bridget came over last week and I was like, want to see my chicken nugget stockpile. So, I mean, it's just crazy because it's like people are having to think ahead and they're always going, I'm trying to keep my gas tank full so that if gas spikes, then I'm not going to be burdened by it, you know? And so these are the things that people have to do to think ahead. And I guess with all of the craziness for Joe Biden, the one thing that we can all maybe think about and be thankful for is, you know what, at least Donald Trump was president last Thanksgiving. Even though he was technically voted out of office, at least he was there at that point.
I am most thankful for this Thanksgiving was that we had Trump last Thanksgiving. I like that. I like that. That is the thing I am most thankful for. Well, and we may really be saying that next year, folks.
It's going to go
because it ain't going to get better. This is just going to get worse. A caveat to that, it's possible Democrats will realize just how large the red swell is that's going to turn into a wave. In 2022, they may realize that and start pulling back a little bit, but they're so committed at this point. I'm not sure that they can pull back. But next Thanksgiving is going to be very, very interesting. Yeah. When was the last time you saw America like this? Maybe the late 70s? Energy crisis times, which we know were kind of man-made. World War II. When was the last time there were shortages? This is what you get when the left is in power. This is what you get when the left's in control. Make no mistake. The people we're dealing with now, these are not the Democrats of yesterday who were essentially patriotic, but were a little more interested in a safety net than conservatives were. That's not what we're dealing with now. We're dealing with leftists. These are the people who brought you the gulags, from the people who brought you empty grocery store shelves in Russia, from the people who brought you eating zoo animals in Venezuela. They are the ones who are making these decisions, folks. Again, make no mistake, that what we're seeing right now is just the beginning. This is just the Bible talks about birthing pains, just the beginnings of pains. This is just the beginning if the left maintains control, and that has to be stopped. Now, the good thing is there is enough virtue, I think, in the American people and common sense, and I know God has enough grace that we can pull this thing back. But it takes you and it takes us all pulling together. And on that note, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for reading articles at the Western Journal. If you feel led to support us in a more direct way, you can always go to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There are several ways there that you can partner with us directly to help fund the journalism that we do. I was talking with someone, I kid you not, it was about 15 minutes before coming on air. I was talking with someone who we're partnering with for something, and he mentioned several conservative organizations, and he said, they have all said no to fighting with us, and you guys just jumped at the opportunity. And that's in the places he was talking about. They were good, solid, conservative places. But folks, we are willing to put it all on the line. We can't do that without you. So thank you for your support. Remember, if you're watching online, whether that's YouTube or Rumble, be sure to subscribe. Click the subscribe button. After that, there's a little bell you can click. That's going to make sure that you get notified when we go live. Click that as well. That'll mean no shadow banning. And we don't have to worry about the shadow banning that much with Rumble. They're good folks. With YouTube, I wouldn't put anything past them at all. I think that is it for us for today. For Tara, for Bridget on her very first day. Well done.
Thank you for having me, everybody.
For Rachel, Melissa, Russ, all the folks in the booth, I'm Josh Manning. Thank you for joining us. And we are going to wrap up the week with you on Friday. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We'll We'll see you then.